So it's not possible to reset your vagus nerve, but I can definitely see why that you would want to. And when your vagus isn't working properly, you definitely feel stressed and overwhelmed and constantly on edge. When I was first introduced to polyvagal theory, I kind of came at it the other way around. I came across the Safe and Sound protocol first, and I did that, and it had huge effect for me. But I didn't really know very much about polyvagal theory or strategies at that point. And having had such good effect, and as I was training to become a Safe and Sound practitioner, I did begin researching and kind of went down that, rabbit hole that we all do on YouTube, looking for other ways to do this. And I signed up for webinars and consumed all kinds of content, including the famous, and I'm sure you've tried it, strategy where you turn your head left and right and wiggle your ears or whatever it is. Nothing worked for me, which I know now is because you can't reset the nervous system. To understand why you can't reset the nervous system, you have to know what it is. The vagus nerve, which is a lot talked about right now, and especially in long COVID, is half of the autonomic nervous system. So the vagus nerve starts in the face. We have all these branches that sort of go across our face, which is why you get that warm, fuzzy feeling when you feel close to someone. And then it goes all the way down, right into our gut, through all of our major organ systems, and possibly even into the sort of pelvic floor. That's also why you get that sort of angry chest pulsation when you're angry. We're kind of getting into the different branches of the vagus nerve that I'm going to talk about in a moment. So what does the vagus nerve do? The important thing to remember about the vagus nerve is there are two branches, the ventral vagus and the dorsal vagus. The ventral vagus is our social connection system. It does safety and connection. And that's really when people use the term parasympathetic, that's what they are referring to. Technically, the dorsal part of the vagus nerve is also parasympathetic too, and that's why polyvagal theory is so much more helpful to us in understanding this stuff, because the dorsal branch is the one that does the shutdown. It's the ripcord that shuts down our organ systems when we have been in sympathetic activation for too long. Now, the sympathetic nerve is different than the vagus nerve, and that's the other half of the autonomic nervous system. The ventral vagus, which is that top part that goes through our face and kind of through the top part of our chest, is responsible for social connection and feeling safe. So this is the bit where it's super relevant why being around negative people is not helpful to us. Because if we already have some difficulties with our vagus nerve and more of a propensity for being in shutdown, if we are around negative people, they will keep us in that shutdown state. Similarly, being around more positive people, and by that I also mean people who themselves are what they call anchored in ventral, i.e. they don't have nervous system problems and they are calm and in that lovely rest and digest state. Similarly, if we have a trauma history and our nervous system is therefore altered as a result, there is this magic thing whereby our nervous systems can detect and connect with other people who also come from trauma. It's a phrase that we often use in psychology: trauma sees trauma. And of course, if we have trauma and we are in a relationship with someone who also has trauma, you wind up with two people who are desperately trying to take care of each other but actually don't have the resources. They probably don't have the resources to take care of themselves, and so having the resources to take care of someone else is even more difficult. Sometimes that word toxic is what we use, but it isn't a deliberate awful thing, it's just all we know. This is really kind of relevant when it comes to your long COVID recovery. Obviously, we have been through a collective trauma with long COVID. the medical gaslighting, the friends and family gaslighting, the societal gaslighting. Naturally, we do want to be around other people who have been through what we have and who understand. It isn't all that beneficial for our nervous systems to be around things like venting and anger. If you are in my Facebook group, you will know that this is one of the things that is very different about it. We deliberately make it a safe space where we don't share our trauma story, we don't vent, and we don't have long negative or angry posts. Now, that's not to say that we're not experiencing those things, and we certainly have a ton of strategies to help us feel our feelings, of course, but we don't want to be going around saying that stuff out loud all the time, partly because it re-traumatizes ourselves, and also because it then also puts it on other people and doesn't help them with their recovery. If you have been in some of the other Facebook groups that can be a little bit toxic and have a lot of that type of negative content, feel free to pop on over and join my Facebook group, and you will definitely find a different space that is not like that. Knowing exactly what the vagus nerve is, how could you reset that system? It's far too large and far too complex. There isn't a way to, magically stick in a pin and make it function again. But slowly, over time, with persistence and chipping away, polyvagal strategies can be incredibly powerful at helping to change and heal the vagus nerve, which we know is damaged in long COVID. What can you do? The opposite of resetting your nervous system is befriending your nervous system. I'm aware of what happens to me when I experience certain interactions, and you may have heard me talk about this before, that one of the big things that I have been dealing with since I started this business 2 years ago is finding good support in terms of virtual assistants, and that can trigger my anger very quickly. But before, I had no idea what was going on and why. Now, I know how my nervous system works. So if something happens and I see a change of nervous system state, A, I know what's happening, and B, I know what I need to do. Once you've learned your nervous system, you can learn what strategies work for you. For some, that might be deep breathing or yoga or meditation. For others, that doesn't work, and we need more somatic practices. You can also try the Safe and Sound protocol and polyvagal strategies. If you want to learn more about all of these polyvagal somatic practices, I would absolutely love to teach you. I understand that it is overwhelming where to start on the internet, and with long COVID, we can all go down a rabbit hole trying to do research that can then also push us into a crash. If you want some more support, I have some of this already done for you, if not all of it. I'm going to link my website for you below, and I hope to see you there.